On a mission to help women who feel stuck in their current job or current life situation learn that they don't have to remain stuck and they can change their life to a life that they would love. Carol Iacobucci is joining me today on Awaken and Ascend. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host, and Carol is also sharing that we are spiritual beings having a human experience and we are more powerful than we believe. And this is what we love to be able to share on the show. Every week, I get to bring in innovative light leaders, conscious leaders, and wellness advocates to share their message, their strength, their hope, and their tools and practices that can support us in integrating a higher consciousness model of living. So, Carol from Ohio and working as a dream builder coach is dedicated to helping individuals achieve their goals and realize their dreams in a shorter time frame than they could on their own. Through dynamic coaching programs tailored to their specific needs, she helps them uncover their dreams and empower them to transform visions into concrete goals. Carol offers transformative tools, motivation, and guidance so that you can turn those goals into a tangible reality. Today, she's here to share how to build our dreams without anything getting in the way, or at least being able to break through anything that threatens to interfere with that. Welcome, Carol. It is so wonderful to have you here. I'm so excited for this.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for having me. Such an honor.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, there's this thing where we have a dream, right? And Martin Luther King Jr., of course, talks about how he had a dream. And as visionaries, we have such big ideas, innovative ideas. And sometimes it's hard to trust them because it's never been done before, or people don't believe in it, right? And there's a lot of things that can tear down and burst our bubble before we even get a chance to float it out there into the world. And there's those of us that have a dream and try to live it and then realize that it didn't work. And there's a lot of grief and loss over that lost dream or that shattered dream. And it's really unfortunate. There's a whole process that goes through that. And then, like, one of the things I talk about is the courage to dream a new dream. And so, this is why I'm so aligned with what you're sharing with us today about how we can make things tangible, make things real, turning those dreams into reality, really building that and building ourselves up in the process, or rebuilding ourselves up if it's a dream we had and then lost or was shattered or not quite realized for whatever circumstances. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm really curious what brought you into this work. So please share, Carol.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you. Yes. Well, it's several years ago that I was working in a corporate job, which had served me well for many years, but it was getting to the point where I didn't feel fulfilled in that job, and I probably was not bringing my best to that job either, And at the time, I was also taking care of my sick husband. And so it was a lot of stress. I was the sole breadwinner. I was the one bringing in, the health care for him and taking care of him and going to work. And it was a real difficult time. We went through that for quite a few years. And then unfortunately, he passed away. And after he passed away, then I continued to work in this job that I really didn't like anymore for another year. And I thought, what am I doing here? I don't even like this. And I decided I had the opportunity to retire early, and I grabbed it and I retired early. So yeah, and so that was wonderful, right? And then I took care of my mom for a while, and then mom passed away. So, it's like losing your identity first. Lost my identity as a wife, lost my identity in my career, lost being a daughter and a caregiver. And after a while, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, who am I? And and what am I? And I'm thinking, like, I was in my early 60s when all this happened, and my mom lived till God bless her, lived till 94, and I thought, I don't want to sit here for 30 years watching TV, right? That had no good feeling to it whatsoever. So I went on a search, and I went and through my life, I've always been a continuous learner and, delve into a lot of spiritual things and personal growth. But I really, really went on a search, and that's when I found Mary Morrissey in her coaching program, and I got certified as a Dreambuilder coach and life mastery coach. Yes, because her approach is so she's like a mom, and she's so generous and kind, and it's spiritual, and it's beautiful. Yeah. But I didn't stop there. I continue to learn. And I'm also right now in the path to become a positive intelligence coach. And the two merge so beautifully. So, yeah. But that's how I got started. I, just went through so many things and said, okay, this is my life. I need to make a stand.
Yeah, really searching and following our calling, really. There's some searching, there's some seeking, questioning, and then there's also the drive and the curiosity that takes us deeper into our heart and to the people, places, and situations that really uplift the ideas that are hidden or that are emerging, and to really bring them out and shine light on them. And sometimes that takes going through certifications or going through loss or going through the questioning, the self-inquiry, the self-discovery, like you said, who am I now? And really discovering who that is and really recognizing what we identify ourselves with too, like as a wife or a mother or an entrepreneur or a coach or any of the titles and roles that we step into, and also recognizing who we are and what's being expressed through the shape, the role that it takes, And when I shifted out of my career of over 20 years in social services, there was this us and them thing that I never really liked, no one really liked that.
No.
And I wanted to step out of that role to role way of relating and really connect with people, soul to soul, and so that was a big change. But then there's also the passion, that energy, that spirit that lives on through whatever kind of role we take on. There's some kind of common thread I find. And I think that's what helps us build the dream as well, is that thread, that weaving, that building, the creation of that. And the way I see passion, when you break up the word, it's pass I on. And that I being your soul's expression of what you are here to pass on in this lifetime. So I love this merging now of life mastery and dream building that you're playing with these days, Carol. And I'm wondering how you weave that together to build your own dream and how that's been supporting others.
Sure. I think one of the things too, many people say, well, I don't even know what my dream is, right? And when I was sitting there at that point in time, I didn't know what my dream was either. And so one of the things we need to do is start noticing things. And we need to notice what we're thinking. And we need to notice what's our longing and what's our discontent. Because I knew my discontent was I wasn't going to sit there and watch TV. So if I wasn't going to do that, then I had to start to explore, well, what do I want to do instead? And when you start to explore your longing, you start to go back to when you were a kid and you think, well, what did I always wanted to do, right? Well, I always wanted to teach. And I thought, well, how can I teach these empowering, ideas I've learned all through my life, not just recently, but, studied these for a long time. And that's where coaching kind of came into play. And so one of the things we need to do as dream builders to build our dream is start to use our imagination. We're so used to our five senses, right? But we also have 6 mental faculties that we don't even realize that we have that help connect us with the infinite. And the first one is imagination. And to use that imagination to really, really dream what you would love. So that's kind of step one. And then when you're trying to think of, well, how am I ever going to do that? Well, you don't want to ask that question when you're dreaming. That's a later question. You just want to dream up what it is you would love. And you want something that makes you feel expansive, not contractive. Oh, I should have done this because so-and-so said, well, that would be really good for you to do. That doesn't bring you life, right? You want to write things down that makes you feel expansive, makes you feel full of life and energy. and you bring your five senses into your dream to make it real, to make it come alive, and you also make it present tense. So you could be saying, oh, I'm sitting in a cafe in Paris and I'm, having a glass of wine and it smells so delicious and tastes so delicious. And I'm having this wonderful bread and cheese with it. And, I can smell the warm bread. And so you really put yourself in there so you can feel the vibration of it, of that dream. So that's kind of step one.
Even as you were talking that and saying those words, I was feeling that and experiencing that. And here we are sitting in a Paris cafe together, having the wine and the bread and all of the things. And it's fun. It can be really fun too, And what do you think, Carol, though, that gets in the way of that? Where did we lose our sense of our ability to imagine? What gets in the way?
I just heard something that said they were looking at testing children ages 5 to 6 about, I think it was the space program and looking at who might be our future astronauts. And they were looking to see how many of the children at that age were considered genius. And it was 98%. Then when you got to like age 10, it cut almost in half. By the time you got to age 30, it was like 2%. And the reason that we lose our connection to our higher self is because we start listening to everything else around us. We want to fit in. We want to be like everything else. We go to schools and they say, oh, you need to dress the same, or you need to study all the same things, or you need to go down this road, or you need to become the path, you have to go to college, or you have to become a wife, or, so all of the things that we have inside us when we're little, we start to push them down because we think, oh, well, that doesn't fit in with what everyone else is doing. And so all these ideas that we have, and some of them actually are there to help keep us safe. Excuse me. Maybe we experienced some kind of trauma as a kid and we don't know how to really handle it. So we put a story around it. Oh, I must not be good enough for that, right? Because I got hurt on that. And so we have these stories that we've used through our lives, or we felt, we heard these things around us all of our life, these rules, and we live by them because we think they're the truth. But all they really are stories, but they're so ingrained in us that we believe them over our own intuition. And that's what stops us from going forward. We don't think we're good enough or pretty enough, or we're too old, or we're too young, or we're too fat, or we're too skinny, or we're too this or that. And none of that is true because we are spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. And is it ironic how like perfectionism's kind of like an epidemic, right? But it's full of people that don't feel good enough, right? Ironically. And so a lot of us will procrastinate because we want to get it right and we want to do things the right way and in the perfect way and have all the right credentials and to be able to support our dream, and keep putting it off because we're getting ready to get ready all the time, and I find that also can get in the way. And so how do we remove all of these obstacles, these beliefs, and actually be able to discern what the truth really is, the truth about ourselves and our abilities and capacity and capabilities and all of that can actually support us living life more fully?
Right. Well, I don't think we ever really get rid of them. It's that we need to identify them. So one of, in a program I'm going through right now, Positive Intelligence, they start to name them. So they say everybody has these saboteurs. He calls them saboteurs. And everybody has the judge saboteur that's judging us, judging me, judging you, judging the circumstances. And it's in that comparison, right? The comparison mode. But then we have these other saboteurs that might be unique to us. Like I might be an avoider. I try to avoid things that might be of conflict, right? Or somebody else could be a controller. They have to feel control of the situation and everything has to be just right or they can't move forward. And so what does that lead to? Any of those saboteurs, what they lead to is delay, like you were talking about, the procrastination. Well, maybe I need to get all these credentials first before I can make a first step. It leads to dissuasion. Dissuasion goes into, well, who do you think you are to do this? Or everybody else is already doing this. Why would anybody listen to you? Or, all the different reasons why you can talk yourself out of doing it. Or it could even lead to what we call DEFCON. DEFCON is when you're just on the verge of doing something really important, your whole body goes into, like fight, fright or freeze mode. It's like, it's like your whole body just says, what are you doing? And then we think, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and we back off. And the whole thing is that fear of DEFCON. It's like, I heard this wonderful definition of fear, because every great person had to deal with fear and had to walk through the fear, right? And fear is just the boundary of what we know to what we don't know, right? To what we're used to and what we're not used to. And it kind of diffuses the whole thing. Like when you're going on a trip, maybe you're going someplace you've never been there before. You could get excited about that trip. But fear is that trip, but we have that boundary and we're afraid to go past that boundary and not realize that we could be experiencing something really exciting and new. And we let that fear hold us back.
It is. Face everything and rise, right? For fear. Face everything and rise, yeah. Or face everything and recover. Sometimes there's time that we do need to heal and to integrate and rebirth in a way too. From old identities into new identities or newer aspects of ourselves that are emerging, and be able to move. People talk about moving out of the comfort zone. For me, it's really about entering the growth zone, going beyond and really entering that expansive space that you mentioned, right? And to open up to all these infinite possibilities and to really feel into the dream, the vision. And as we step moving forward in that, it becomes clearer, or we may want to change directions. We get to play with this new way of being and thinking and believing. But there are those beliefs, right? And that habit energy that makes us stuck in those old patterns, or our mind keeps us going around in circles, or we just back off completely, like you said. Like, what about those beliefs? What can we do about those and those habit energies too that can also get in the way or threaten us or delay our progress? I mean, in some ways it's nice to slow down and align, but in other ways the slowing down can be on the verge of procrastination or not living our potential, and that would actually drain us, because we're holding in that potential.
There's several things that we could do. One is the first step is always notice what you're noticing. You need to step back a little bit and think, well, what was I just thinking about that? So it doesn't matter where it came from. You don't have to analyze it. You just need to notice it. And then you could start to name it. If you notice your judge, you could say, well, that's just my judge talking to me again. Don't worry about it, judge. I've got this, right? Or if it's my avoider. Okay, avoider, I hear you, but I'm just, I'm not going to listen to you right now. Maybe I'll listen to you later, make an appointment with it. Tell them, okay, I'll listen to you later, and keep that appointment and listen to what the avoider has to say, because any of those voices have to say, because they were there to keep you safe. So you want to listen to what they have to say, but it doesn't mean that you have to follow everything they have to say. So that's one way, is to kind of compartmentalize that voice. Another thing to do is to get into a state, if you're all like hyped up and nervous or upset about something, you want to get yourself back into a relaxed state. And one way to do that is with our breath. We're a spiritual being having a human experience, and the only place those two connect is the here and now. And most of our grief comes from regret about the past and worry about the future. And the only thing that really brings us to the here and now is our breath, because we can only breathe in the present. So that's why you could hear so many people talk about breathing, right? Well, if you breathe in through your nose on a count, say count of 5, and blow out through your mouth like you're blowing out through a straw for a count of 5, and you do that several times, changes your state, and it puts you into rest and create mode.
Ooh, I like rest and create mode.
Yeah, there's a third one, which of course slipped my mind right at the moment, but I know, rest, digest, and
Yes, rest
create.
and digest. Yeah.
Rest, digest, and create. And
Mhm.
it just brings you back into the now.
Yes.
Then what you want to do is really think about your dream. Think about being in that place that you want to be, and get yourself your vibration into that beautiful dream that you have. Think of it being done. It is done. It is complete. It happened. And how do you feel in that vibration when that happens? And then what you do is then you sit back and listen to your intuition, which is our second mental faculty. You listen to that intuition to hear what is one step you can take in the direction of your dream. So we get stressed out when we think we have to know the whole how.
Mm.
We don't need to know the whole how,
No.
the whole how. all we need is the next step.
Yeah. What is the next safe step to move this forward? Yeah. Really good one. Really good one. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Carol. And I know another way too, sometimes it's a little challenging to do it on our own. So, what if people actually want to connect with you and your work and be able to explore a little bit more about the tools and practices that you use to help support people in overcoming their limiting beliefs and building their dreams and, finding that life mastery to really mastering their lives? What can they
Yeah.
do to get in touch or to explore?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. One other thought is that think of a rocket going into space.
Mm,
We're using all of our energy to take off. But
yeah.
then when we get to that barrier, that gravity barrier, the fear barrier, that barrier is when we need a little booster, right? That booster. And that's where coaches come in, and people, mentors and coaches come in. And that's where they help you get that booster to go through past that barrier. So I'd love to talk to anybody who's interested in talking more. There's a link to my calendar where you can set up an appointment with me. There's also a link to a free gift that you could learn a little bit more about how we think and how that affects us. So there's a link for a free gift there as well. And I believe you also have my email in the links. So any of those ways, you can get in touch with me.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Those are wonderful offerings. I'm definitely going to have all the links down below, along with mine. I'm also, besides being a host here, the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. So you can find out more about what all that's about at lightingthepath.ca. And I have a guide too for living your passion and purpose, which is also in the show notes just down below. So you can click into that. I'd love to know what your biggest takeaways are. So you can leave us a comment or maybe even a question and we will respond to you. And of course, like and subscribe with this video. We'd love to be able to share this with more people and help them build their dreams too. Carol, it's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jennifer.
So wonderful. And thank you for each and every one of you that have been tuning in. And we'll see you again next time on Awaken and Ascend.